blazing fast, Stephen. We are officially users of 2 gigabit internet here at the Fro Factory Studio Place. We are blazing. That means you can download your porn extra, extra fast.
Stephen, do I look and sound better now that we've got 2 gigabits in the studio?
Whoa, it's like I'm right next to you. It's crazy.
2 gigabits.
That is
what
insane.
Speed? So I've been wanting to get the 2 gigabit Fios in the studio, and when we first moved in, it wasn't available here. It was only available in New York City. And so I just randomly checked. You would think they would like send you a text message and be like, hey, 2 gigabit internet's available in your area. And I never got it, but I looked and my zip code or area code or whatever they look up came up, and I had 2 gigabit installed yesterday, and I think it's like $20 more a month or something.
I didn't even know it was an option. I didn't know it even existed.
And you saw what the test results look like. It was like 2,400 down, 2,300 up.
Yeah. I have a gig up and down here, which I always thought was enough, but obviously we're uploading massive files. Like we just uploaded a user guide last night, and that has to be, 30 gigs. It took like a good hour to upload. With 2 gigs, it's what, half that, yeah.
It all depends. It all depends on how fast someone else's servers are and how fast their network is. I can't upload to Dropbox any faster than Dropbox will allow you
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, for example, YouTube, you can upload the same video file, and it's at least half the amount of time that it takes for Dropbox to upload to.
Yeah.
You hit that certain cap, that threshold with Dropbox for sure.
Yeah, it's just so fast. I remember the first time you used to do RAWtalk when you would upload it. You would edit RAWtalk back in the day when it was you and I.
You know what my upload speed was?
Your upload speed was 10
megabits per second. Brutal. It would take like 6 hours to upload. I would have to do it overnight. And then if it failed, I was screwed.
So it takes Stephen 4 to 6 hours. And then when we moved into the factory in 2016 and I had gigabit put in there, I had him give me the file and I went and it was done in 12 minutes.
Yep.
Because it was just so freaking fast. But, do we need 2 gig here? No. But for the extra little bit of money, sure. Maybe it will be beneficial for something. I don't know what. Maybe when we have our servers and we need to pull stuff off the servers. Yeah, 2 gig. But I think like foreign countries have had faster speeds for longer than us.
I bet.
But, the installation process was I already had Fios here. And all they needed to do was change the something at the line outside on the pole. They just need to put another light generating device, just like ramps up the speed. It's all fiber. So all you need to do is change the node at the beginning of the fiber because it just changes the intensity of the light and there's your data. It's insane.
It's not available where I'm at, unfortunately, but I will definitely be upgrading. I still have like the triple play option from Verizon, the cable, phone, internet. Don't use the phone at all. Don't even have a landline. My cable TV, I rarely use. I mean, we throw something on just for Hannah to watch something on the TV or occupy her.
Why don't you put on Miss Rachel on YouTube?
Well, yeah, we do sometimes as well. But sometimes if I'm just in a pinch, I'll just throw on cable and it's good to go.
Huh.
Yeah, so I have the triple play option, but I don't utilize any of it. I need to downgrade to just the internet option. But at the time when I signed up, the triple play was cheaper than internet only. That was 3 years ago.
Yeah, so anyway, that's what we got. We got our 2 gig internet here, and
sweet.
I don't know what else we'll do after that, but we're capable wirelessly to do 2 gig up.
How are you putting that kind of data wirelessly? How are you putting that up into the cloud? Mind blowing.
I don't know, dude. I don't know. But hey, speaking of mind blown, I know I'm late to the game, but I'm now a slacker.
City slacker.
Slacker. Are you a slacker, McFly? You're nothing but a slacker. Yeah, so I know people have been using Slack for like 10 years. I don't even know how long it's been around, but we just started using it, or I was just added to a Slack channel for the bowling show that I'm working on, and I've never used Slack before, but the organizational method of it is really, it's good. I like it.
Well, we tried to use other programs back in the day, like Trello, to try and have like what's in production, what's in the queue, what's in post-production, try and have things organized so we're all on the same page. But that didn't really work out well because no one was following along or updating it. So I was the one constantly updating it and being the only one that followed it. So we just abandoned that idea. Slack came along, and I remember when that first came out a few years ago, you initially were like super into it, but we never did anything with it. And I
No,
joined
we didn't.
back then, and I was part of a couple of other Slack channels, but I'm really glad that you're back into it because it makes more sense to us when we're constantly sending emails back and forth about titles and thumbnails, all of that kind of stuff. So
there's no reason for us to do that. So that's why I created a RAWtalk channel, a Photo News Fix channel, because we have to get Dan to do it. So that's the next step, is telling Dan that he will be doing it. If he listened to the show, he would know he would be doing it. But it's just going to be so much easier for everybody because I put the notes in there. We can put thumbnails and title ideas and work on them together right there without sending 73 emails back and forth.
And I'm huge on communication. When you have a team, you really need to be on the same page. So I'm glad that we are now utilizing Slack and hopefully will be on the same page.
I need to put in a employee of the month channel, and every month I just upload a picture
Just
of
gonna
me.
say Jared.
Exactly.
Announcing January's employee of the month, Jared Polin.
Yeah, I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for that.
It'd be funny if you can add like stars to your name. You have like 30 stars. Every star is an employee of the month.
You get a new badge.
Yeah,
you get a new badge. Employee of the month badge each time. So, hey, I was reading an article. Actually, I was reading an article that someone posted. They did an interview with the LA Times, and they're the head of this company called Carrot, and it's a credit card company with no limit, and it's kind of built with creators in mind who need to do bigger projects but don't have the traditional banks behind them. And so it's something that I don't have a Carrot card because I have established credit and I have large credit lines, so I don't need it as much as someone else who needs to spend 20 grand on something, and they but you have to pay. It's like having an Amex card, except you don't have any perks or benefits.
Sure.
So it's really they're trying to make it like it's a posh thing to have this card, but I still rather stick with the traditional thing that gives me perks and benefits because there's not that many perks and benefits that come with this other thing. But anyway, the founder of it was interviewed for some social media thing for the LA Times, and they talked about how, there's a lot of talk about how Mr. Beast ruined YouTube, which I don't agree with.
I see why they're saying that, but I also don't fully agree with that.
Right, but then the statement that they made is that people are, his prediction for 2024 is that people will be moving away from the super polished and edited videos into something that's a little more raw and long form. And one, I don't consider Mr. Beast super polished. I mean, it's much better now than it was 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
But he cited a YouTuber who is a fitness guy, and the first thing I'd noticed when I went on the channel is there's no way this guy is natural, right? But he's got like 2.3 million subscribers, and what he's doing is he's driving in his car every morning and talking to a GoPro just attached to his window. He has a Rode clip mic attached to his hat. I see that's like a new thing. Attach the mic to the hat.
Well, all the lawn care guys do that stuff too, yeah.
So that's what they're doing. And then the guy goes to the gym and it's like bulk day 43 and he's walking you through what he's doing. And it's just simple cut here, roll a new clip, cut there. And I
take it he's doing something that's not a typical routine workout though, because why would anybody watch?
Massive. The guy is massive.
Why. Yeah. Because anybody massive. I feel like could do this routine, but there's got to be something different about him that makes him stand out if he's doing well. Right?
He's massive to the point
like
of
we're talking
there's
like
no
Arnold
way.
Massive, like just crazy steroids back in the day, Arnold?
Yes.
Okay.
Basically. And it's like I hate to be like this person isn't natural because people turn around and they're like, well, look at you're huge. No, I'm not huge. This guy is probably the same size as me and weighs 80 more pounds because the way that his body is like the way that it's. You just have to look at the videos. Here, let me pull it up real quick. All right, so the YouTuber's name is Sam Sulek, and he was pointed out as someone who's doing it different, that's not doing the super polished stuff and having success to the point that he has 2.82 million subscribers, and he's basically daily vlogging his workouts. I mean, it's like 14 hours ago, 264,000, 490 a day ago, 2 days ago, 398. 3 days ago, also 677,000, and then 500,000 and almost 1 million for winter bulk day 69 back. And it's just crazy because there's no crazy titles. He's building a following of people just engaging.
It's not like he's just an average person doing this. It's not like anyone can just do this. He's a monster.
he's a monster, but there is absolutely no way. There's just no way that is natural. I mean, I sent it over to my trainer. I'm like, what's going on here?
Steroids.
And it's
lots and lots
human
of steroids.
growth hormones. It's steroids. He still has to put in the work, but the work goes a hell of a lot further when you're cheating. And I know this is a big debate in those fitness industry and the lifting industry, but if you're not natural, one, you're setting a bad example for anybody else coming up who thinks that that's natural. And it's the same thing with women, right? The Kardashians getting butt implants and breast implants and lip injections is setting an example that's okay for girls, or that's what they should chase after.
It reminds me of the whole Liver King issue, where he claimed he was fully natural, full natty, and selling all these supplements and products and saying that this is how he got this big. But in reality, he was on all these insane steroids and growth hormones and everything. It's false advertising.
It is, and they're taking illegal substances but also killing themselves because, it does lead to premature death and heart issues.
Explode one day.
It's anyway, the point I was making is that the guy was talking about his prediction for 2024 for YouTube is that it's going to be going back to less polished and more of the raw thing. And I think, we've seen some of this with those lawn care channels that you talk about, where it's like 56 minutes of cutting a lawn. Or the one that I've been watching, well, I haven't watched this week, but the guy that fixes Rolexes and takes them apart, and they're 50-some minute videos. These things have millions of views, hundreds of thousands, and then millions of views, and people are engaging and paying attention.
But you say the lawn cutting thing, it's not like someone's just randomly cutting their lawn. It's usually cutting a property that hasn't been touched in 10 years and making it from a complete mess to beauty. So it's a big before and after and all of that.
Yes, but they're not super polishing their videos.
No,
they're
not
just
at all.
film.
It's the content. That's what it's all about.
Right, but the thing that still holds true with all the content is the audio can't suck. If the audio sucks, people aren't going to listen.
Yep.
So, but my whole thing is we've stuck to the style that we do, right? When I first started, it was 5 minutes because that's all my videos the D3S could handle was 5 minutes. But we've never shied away from doing a longer form piece of content because I think people will engage if it's quality.
Sure.
And it's a little different for us when we're putting out a video about photography or video and it looks like shit.
My biggest thing, this goes back a few years when we were selling the guide to editing, guide to DSLR video, that kind of stuff. I didn't want it to look like shit if we're selling a product on how to make your videos look great. That was the whole point. Like, it's a lot harder for us to make our videos look poor when we're talking about, being a professional photographer or videographer, whatever it may be.
We got to practice what we preach. The trends
That's like
come
being
and
a
go.
fitness guy and being a skinny shrimp and not being able to lift 5 pounds and giving fitness advice.
Like you, but or Dan. We the trends come and go. We don't chase them. We do what we do. And for a while, the things that I was doing at the very beginning were being copied by other people. And then you get passed up by other people that are doing things. And Peter McKinnon started to get copied by everybody. Everybody would do the same thumbnail as him. And now it was very difficult to know what was a Peter video and what wasn't.
And I still think for us too, there are a lot of less polished videos like the vlogs and stuff like that, where you're just kind of running around with a small, not even 1-inch sensor camera or a little action camera or something like that. It's not like a full-blown, full-frame sensor camera. Like, we still get away with that kind of stuff. And I'm totally fine with that as long as at the end of the day, the content is there. It needs to be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people will gravitate towards the person that they like. Mm-hmm. And if they enjoy the stories they're telling, I mean, it's like me sitting there and watching a guy eat an MRE on occasion. It's like, wow.
Steve 1989. That's the guy I watch.
Is that what the guy's
eating
called?
Old rations from back in the day.
Right.
Yeah.
That stuff is interesting. So it just shows you that no, not everything needs to be Mr. Beast, where I do think the beastification has gone to the extreme again. And this happens all the time. It happened with the prank channels and the joke channels where they took it too far. And now it's like the difference between a $1 hamburger and a $20,000 hamburger. It's like, whoa, all right, how far can you take this before it's like enough?
Yeah.
And so I let's move on from there. You had you had some severe storm issues yesterday because there was a big storm.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, did you have any issues on your end? How was Philly?
I mean, it was windy and rainy. I cooked dinner last night. That's how bad Philly was, because usually I go out, but I prepared to cook dinner, my world famous chicken, and yeah, it was windy.
Well, so last night we easily had 50 plus mile an hour wind gusts, at least in Jersey. My backyard, it backs up against a golf course, so I typically have much worse wind gusts than the rest of my town.
What kind of course? How do you spell golf?
Golf. Golf course, excuse me.
It's like crayon again. I went to the store and I bought 64 Crayola crowns.
My apologies.
Yeah, I went to the golf course.
But anyway, I typically have much worse wind gusts than the rest of my town since the wind builds up so much momentum going down the fairway and then it slams into my backyard and there's nothing stopping it in between. There's no trees. There's nothing to block it or calm it down. Now, I have a 6-inch vinyl privacy fence.
6 inch?
6 foot, I'm sorry.
I have a 6-inch fence to stop ants.
I have a really bad ant problem.
It's the damn ants. I want
Every
to
once
stop
in a while,
everybody.
I run over my fence with my lawnmower.
6-inch fence.
A 6-foot privacy fence, let me get that straight, in high winds. It was buckling so damn hard, it was almost literally at like a 30-degree angle when I checked it at the peak of the storm. It was pretty bad. I thought I was going to wake up to a complete down fence, down trees, destroyed grill, like everything in my backyard.
Bro. Homeowners.
Of course, but it still sucks when that happens. The
does, but
aftermath,
you get a
though,
new fence.
Thankfully wasn't that bad. I had 2 8-foot fence panels blown out. I had half my 30-year-old birch tree went down. Unfortunately, a giant limb snapped off of it, so I got to get that taken care of. My grill toppled over. Brand new grill, by the way. My 45-pound Adirondack chairs made of polywood. Those things were scattered throughout the yard, man. And they're not light. 45 pounds.
45 pounds is nothing, Steven.
Thrown all around the yard.
Have you seen these guns?
It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be because the winds really did sound that brutal last night. No damage to the house, no siding down, no trim. All that was fine, thankfully. And the funny part is, all of my Christmas decorations, which I still have up, I need to take them down. It's like 2 weeks later. They're all fine. Even my wreaths that are suction cupped to the windows are completely fine. Yeah. That stuff didn't get touched at all. Yet, the stuff that's concreted into the ground like my fence was taken down. Bringing this back to what we do, battery backups are a must. They are huge because I was literally re-exporting the user guide last night for today and my power blipped for a minute and my computer kept chugging along exporting the video as the rest of my house was out for a good 30 seconds. And that would have completely messed up everything if the power happened to fail as I was transferring files, exporting, all that kind of stuff. So battery backups, if you don't have one, you need to get a UPS ASAP.
Yep, we have them. We have them here. And plus, when you're working on laptops, you also have the battery power there, which definitely helps.
I came in early yesterday and left work early because I was nervous about this storm. They were calling for...
No, you weren't nervous about the storm. You were like, there's a state of emergency.
They called for a state of emergency.
Said state of emergency. I better heed his warning.
I know how my backyard gets because of the golf course.
You almost said it again. The golf course.
I know how it gets,
and your
though.
6-inch fence. Oh, no.
I didn't want my little tiny ant fence to get knocked down.
How much did that fence cost you to put in all 6 inches of it?
But it was a brutal night, and it's not fun, too, when my dog is petrified of lightning and
your dog's
high
a little
winds.
bitch.
Yeah, he is, even though he's a male dog.
All right, so what we're going to talk about, we've got Apple Vision Pro. We got to talk about the 200 to 800 review.
Yes.
Something about this elephant video that we did yesterday. I'm going to talk about the bowling show and conducting an interview from 16 hours away, meaning it's 16 hours into the future. And
Wow.
then me prepping to go on the trip on Thursday, which is for the bowling. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that to give you some inside baseball, some inside look about what's going on and the process that goes into it. But let's start with the Apple Vision Pro. Apple finally announced right before CES, trying to take the wind out of the sails of everybody else, that the Apple Vision Pro will be released on February 2nd, but you can pre-order as of 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the 19th.
You gonna order one?
So I'm talking about this on Photo News Fix, or already talked about it on Photo News Fix. It's $3,500, or say, to make it a little better, it's $34.99. Now, I already have FOMO if I wasn't going to buy one because I want to try it. I want to see how it is. The issue is, look at what the headset is doing to my head right now,
Yeah.
right? What the headphones are doing. And you're going to have 2 bands, one that goes around the back and the option to put one on the top to keep the thing on your face. How heavy is this thing on your face? And how unwielding is it going to get if you're sitting there for an hour or 2 hours doing work inside of this thing? That's one of the biggest concerns. It's not so much the price. I mean, it's expensive, but the reason I would buy it is it's a tax write-off, and I can make content out of it, so it should pay for itself.
The question is, how do you make content out of it if there's no? It's got to be VR content, right? Like, how would you unless you just simply talk about your experience or something?
Part of
like
it is talking about your experience, and is there a way to do a video out? Is there a way to see a desktop view that you could record, somehow do a video out? Someone's going to figure out how to do it so that you can show what's going on inside of the spaces. Now, what I find interesting is Apple doesn't say VR anywhere. They don't say VR headset anywhere because it's not about VR. They call it a spatial computing bullshit.
Okay, that's just another name for virtual reality.
It is, but I think they've gone to the way of, let's figure out how this can be for work and entertainment, because they talk about how you can make a movie screen up to 100 feet, right? Make it seem like you're watching a movie on a 100-foot screen. So for someone like me who doesn't see very well, there is potential that if I'm editing in Lightroom or you're editing video, maybe it's an interesting way to do it, because you could have multiple areas open, and as you look to the left, you can rotate the screen and do everything that you need to do to have just total productivity like that Minority Report.
Back to, having fatigue if you wear it for a certain amount of time. I already get just ear fatigue when I'm wearing my headphones for 8 hours or even like 4 hours at a time. My ears start to hurt. Just the weight on my head, which isn't much, I start to feel it. I can't imagine wearing this headset for 8 hours. I really can't. But that's my main concern, is wearing it for over like 2 hours max.
Right. Well, the good news is if you're going to use it for battery, with the battery attached, you get 2.5 hours of usage if you're using just 2D and not using the 3D and all of the other stuff. So if you're just watching a movie, you're not going to get through the whole movie you're not taking this thing on an airplane and being that douchebag. As I get ready to take it on an airplane to be that douchebag.
I'm sure
I'm gonna have
you
multiple
will.
batteries.
I think shame on airplanes, so I could definitely see you doing it.
I'm very respectful on airplanes.
Let me eat the smelliest food in front of everybody.
I am going to eat my food.
Let me bust out my salmon.
Yeah. Salmon. Back in the day.
Salmon.
Now, I don't take that on the plane anymore because I don't get that place. But my thing with the headset is, like, they make a big deal out of the entertainment. Like, you're going to be able to watch Netflix and Disney Plus and all of this. I'm like, what if I want to watch with a friend? That's the thing, is like, you have the entertainment, and it's $3,500. So I don't expect the everyday people to really buy this. I think the early adopters will try to find it cool. Mm-hmm. The internet people like me will try to make a video, unless they send me one to review, which would be fine. I would do that. Or you could also buy it and then return it after 2 weeks if you really feel it's that bad. The biggest worry is that it's going to feel like shit on the head, just like the Apple headphones did. The Apple AirPod Pros or the Air Max Pro, whatever the hell those headphones were, they squeezed my head so much that it just wasn't enjoyable to use.
It's tough for you because you have so much hair, anything on your head, whether it's a hat or whatever it may be, it's tough for it to feel comfortable for you.
I can wear headphones. It's just when they're squeezing your head so tight, it becomes a problem.
But they're probably squeezing your head even tighter because you have such a big poofy, set of hair at the top.
Are you going to buy one, Steven?
No way. Unless work wants to buy one for me, then that's a different story. But
we're not buying.
I need to use
one.
it for work purposes, Jared.
Then it's a write-off. If it works, then you can work so. The thing that I find interesting is that if you open up your laptop, you can then use your, the laptop. Your thing becomes the computer, basically. Yeah. Right. And so I that might be interesting, but wearing this thing on your head all day, I don't know that makes any sense.
I agree. I think eventually this will become a big thing for a lot of people, but I think that's going to be another couple generations down the road when they make it much smaller, much more comfortable, lighter, all of that. But
when you put it into a contact lens or a pair of regular glasses, and you have augmented like that.
When it's Minority Report.
Yeah. Can it help with productivity? For me, I don't know. I think right now it's just the coolness factor, that will wear off because in 6 months or a year, they'll release version 2 for half the price. That's twice as good.
Exactly.
So let's move on. 200 to 800. You made me make a note on that. What did you want to talk about of the 200 to 800 Canon review?
I just wanted to give people a preview of the actual review. That lens, having it in the hands, I finally got to hold it for the first time. It is a massive lens in length and girth.
6 inches?
It's like a 6-inch fence. Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah.
No, it's like 12 inches collapsed, but probably close to 20 when you're fully extended. But the mind-blowing part is it's fairly light. I mean, you paired that with the R3, and I held both. It's definitely hand-holdable. It's not that bad. Yeah, after a long period of time, it's definitely going to get a little annoying, and it's going to feel a little heavy, I'm sure. But we were really talking about how much of a trade-off it is with the extra 200 millimeters in length that you're getting versus the aperture, like the other super telephoto zoom lenses that are on the market, like that Sony has and Nikon has with the 180 to 600 and the 200 to 600. So a lot of the video is about that, about the trade-off that you're getting. Is it worth it for you? I personally think I'd rather have the reach over that extra one-stop light difference.
Yeah, this is a 6.3 to 9.
Yep.
When most of the others are like 5.6
They go to 6.3. Yeah, at the long end.
But it is one stop, and that is not that big of a deal as big of a deal today as it was yesterday. And when I say yesterday, I mean like 15 years ago. Having a stop difference was all the difference in the world. And I am still a big fan of keeping that ISO down. But the one stop from 6.3 to 9 is not a big deal when you are getting a reach that you couldn't ever have had before. Now, with that being said, you do need to be very careful with the lighting situations that you're shooting in. Because when I went to the zoo the first day, it was overcast and I was at 4,000 ISO just to be at 1/640th of a second. And then the next day I was at 400 ISO and I could be at a faster shutter speed if I needed.
Sure.
So of course you're losing a lot of light, but you're gaining that reach. And the people that it's for, those nature and birder type people, if you're trying to get a little titmouse or something, the 800, the difference from 6 to 8 is immense.
It is.
So less cropping needed, and it's going to be good. The thing is, as you zoom, it's very difficult to zoom because you have to twist super long and super far.
The throw is ridiculous. It's literally a 180-degree throw from 200 to 800. I mean, you
gotta
really
twist your entire wrist.
twisting your wrist. Yeah.
Yeah. And you lose some balance as you do that. It becomes front heavy because it's extending further. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to make sure we pointed out the pros, pointed out the cons. And then at the end of the day, there's nothing like it on the market. And if you want 600 millimeters to 800 millimeters where other people don't have it, then there you go. But I wonder if they would make like a 4 to 800, right? Like a 3 to 800 instead of a 200 to 800, and it changes up the size. Who knows? They went with 2 to 8. That's what they chose to go with.
And like you were saying, at the end of the day, it's an affordable, quote unquote, super telephoto zoom lens at $1,900. I mean, it's a pretty insane range for that price point. I don't expect the world out of it. There are going to be a lot of cons. Like something else would be like the non-removable tripod foot with no hard stops. I wanted you to hit on that because you always make a big point of that with the other manufacturers. So we made sure to note that. I just don't know why you can't remove the tripod foot. I find that a little odd. It's literally locked on there. Now you can move it out of the way, but it's annoying if you had big hands and you're trying to zoom because you're definitely going to be hitting that tripod foot. The issue for me was where the aperture changes. Because you would think with the other lenses, the other manufacturers going all the way to 600 millimeters and being at 6.3, that Canon would go all the way almost to 600 at 6.3. And then when you extend past that, maybe then you go to f8, f9. But no, you go to f8 when you're at 455 millimeters. So at 600, you're almost at f9 already, which is a little annoying.
But you just have to understand it's going to 11. So it's going further.
No, I understand,
and that's the
but
trade-off.
You would think they would at least keep up with the other ones at
but maybe they could
600 millimeters and then extend past that.
But maybe they couldn't because of the extra optics and reach that's there. This was the trade-off. They're like, well, we could go to 600 and make it a 6.3 and stop there. Or in order to make it go to 800, we need to shift the aperture, which then shifts the size of the elements and makes the weight to a place they want it to be. Who knows? And
Canon, they have a great lineup when it comes to the budget-friendly super telephoto lenses, like the 100 to 400, 5.6 to f8, the 600 and 800 f11 primes, which this, in my opinion, just pretty much replaces both of those in one lens. And then the 100 to 500 L, if you want a little more, and you want that L quality. But I still think they have nothing in between that $13,000 600 f4 and this $1,900 lens. There's no advanced enthusiast lenses that's a little more expensive, kind of like Nikon has with the 400 4.5 or the 600 6.3 or 800 6.3. I wish they gave a little better quality with some pretty sweet primes in between that price point.
Yeah, I got you. I think they'll sell every one that they make right now.
I agree. I think this is going to be a huge selling lens. I mean, it really is a sweet lens, but there are
basically
trade-offs. So you just have to understand there's going to be a lot of trade-offs.
And it basically debunks the, they're not making affordable glass, because I don't think Tamron or Sigma could make a lens like this.
Correct.
In the same price point.
Yeah.
Exactly. So let's move on to the elephant video. What you wanted me to bring this up. What do you want to talk about?
Well, we always talk about getting back to educational content, and my big thing is, we've done a lot of it in the past, and I don't want to just repeat the same basic things over and over again. I think with this video, there were a lot of teachable moments, and the biggest one for me was thinking outside the box.
Let me explain the premise of the video. So when I was in Kenya and sitting in the back of the vehicle, you're at a higher angle. And when we wanted to get pictures of these big ass elephants, they look fine from up top, but they're going to look even better when you get lower. Just like most photography, when you get to a lower angle in many situations, it just makes the picture look better. Well, the only way to do this, since we're not allowed out of the vehicles in the park, is to put a monopod on the bottom of my camera, flip it upside down with an 85-1.2 on it, hang it outside of the vehicle with one hand while rotating it, and using the phone with the Canon Connect app to preview, change settings, and take the pictures. And so I was able to get some really good shots of these big tusker elephants in front of Mount Kilimanjaro. And it was definitely a challenge because I had to hold the camera like 5 feet, like basically on the ground, hanging out of a moving vehicle.
And that's what I wanted to break down in this video was the behind the scenes of the shoot, and how most people, when looking at the photo, might think it's just, hey, you got on your knees and took a picture. It's a lot more than that because, again, you were locked in that vehicle and trying to figure out how can I still get low to the ground, and the monopod and the app and all that helped. So thinking outside the box was the big premise of this video. And we had other things to talk about, more main points, but I want to leave the rest of those for the video for people to watch. But back to the educational content, I like this style of video because it's a behind the scenes look at a shot like this and giving people tips and tricks along the way.
Yeah, I mean, this is again where I want to with the next video product, the next video guide, the educational products, is where I can go into depth there.
Sure.
Where a lot of those videos don't do well on YouTube, except for when I did the thing the professional photographers won't tell you, but I will, with Joe Bedia. Like that first one did extreme, but that's a great,
and the one where you called
video.
it like the photography hack ISO. You listed every single keyword in the title, threw everything in the kitchen sink at it.
It doesn't work every time, but the point is, like, I want to do more educational stuff, but I also want to put it into the products where people do like it. Now, I have no problem redoing some of the older stuff, maybe writing scripts, which I already wrote some scripts. We just have to get the script set back up and running, and then get the ability to edit it, and then I would get those out into the world because I have no problem doing them. I like them. Like I wrote a prime versus zooms script.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's funny how far you've come along the way with primes versus zooms. You used to be a big zoom shooter only, and now you're almost prime only. You try to be prime only, I feel like. If you have
prime or better,
the space.
Prime or like a prime zoom like the 28 to 70, just because of the I've talked about it a million times, the difference of separation that you get from everybody else.
Do you think if you were still shooting concerts like we were doing, the frequency of concerts that we were doing a few years back, would you be sticking a lot of primes in your bag these days, or would you still be 100%. Sticking with zooms like a 24 to 105 2.8?
I mean, I would take the 24 to 105, but if I have the ability to photograph the musician and I have the extra time and I'm with them and I have the whole show.
What if you're stuck with 3 songs though?
I mean, a 24 to 105 is going to crush, but a 28 to 70 is going to give you a different look.
Sure.
85, and I probably wouldn't bring the 50. I would do the 85 and a 135. I wouldn't even bring a 70 to 200 anymore.
But yeah, I don't think you really need it with the 24 to 105
or a 100 to 300.
I mean, at 70 to 200, I would maybe get a tight headshot of the vocalist, and that's really it,
Yeah, which is basically a worthless shot for the most part.
Yeah.
So it's still better to be wide, like 10 to 20. I mean, you could do 10 to 20, 24 to 70, 24 to 105, and a 135, and those are your 3 lenses if you could run through them.
It's probably what I would choose.
With like 2 bodies, just if you wanted, but I don't like doing two bodies.
Me too.
Anyway, that's going to be the elephant video. But the next thing that I want to talk about for the rest of the show, we'll talk about the bowling show. But giving you the behind the scenes look at what it's like putting something like this together, it's kind of insane with all of the moving parts. There are so many people involved that they have different tasks and different jobs. And that's where the Slack thing came into play, is like reading what these people are working on and knowing that it's not just me putting stuff together. There's people working nonstop on budgets. There's people working on, what should we do? Should we go here? Should we not go here? How much time should we spend here? Where is the money better spent?
Very collaborative.
Who should we hire? How do we get the footage back? How do they organize the footage? How do they ingest it? Like,
it's all about the details.
Right. And so what I found fascinating is last week I sat on my sofa at 8:30, 9:30, 10:30, up to like 11 o'clock at night, watching a live look through a camera in Australia of an interview that we needed for the project that we're doing. And so they set up it was like a Sony FX6, and then through the HDMI out, it went into the computer, which then went through Google Hangouts, and the audio went through there too. So we could sit there and see the exact angle, help set up a better angle than what they originally set up, and ask questions if we need to chime in and ask questions of the subject sitting 16 hours away in Australia. And by 16, I mean 16 forward. It's like 24 hours away if you have to get there.
Yeah.
Well, partly it's the future, but also there's still something about being in front of somebody and asking the questions. But if this is you know how much money you save by not having to take a crew there?
Oh, of course. Hiring local. Yeah. Now, being that far away, did you have any issues communicating? Like, was it pretty instantaneous, or were there a few seconds delay? Like, you would ask a question.
It didn't seem like there was overlap, because I could hear when we talked, I could hear the feedback, but I'm sure there's a delay going from Australia to the United States. There's going to be some sort of delay, but it didn't cause an issue with anything. The question, like, we had the list of questions that the producer on site from Australia was doing. Mm-hmm. And the camera person, like, finding the right angle that we wanted, that was a challenge that we needed to help with. I mean, I'm very particular with gear. Not so much gear, but proper glass.
Yeah.
I'm a big stickler for proper glass.
But so I want to make sure if it looks good, it looks good.
Sure, but there is a reason that our videos are separated from other people's videos, or the photos that we take with the 28 to 70s and the 85 1.2s. And I know I always say at the end of the day, no one really cares. But if you were to put one documentary next to another documentary, and one was shot with like a GF, it's something small, and you can tell the difference. But again, at the end of the day, it's moving pictures in the documentary, and if it's run and gun, it's totally fine. One thing I find interesting in this entire process, and I know this has been the way in commercial photography, commercial video, anything that our buddy Digi Richie does, is that this idea that when you're looking to hire a shooter, they have one rate for hiring them, and they have another rate to bring their kit, to bring their camera.
And then rent my gear.
Right, which always gets me. I get it. Like, I get that they own the gear, and but they could just roll the price in, and then then they'd be more expensive, and you'd be paying for that. I get it, but I've never, for me, been hired to go do a shoot where I said, well, okay, you hired me, but now you need to also pay for my everyday gear for me to use.
Like, could you imagine wedding photographers being like, well, okay, so this is my base fee, but for me to actually use the gear, you need to pay me X amount as well.
Right.
It's not really a thing with photographers.
Well, I get things like adding a photo booth, or when Richie is doing a commercial shoot, and like if Richie's doing a commercial shoot and they need to rent 6 different lighting setups, which I know they had to do once on a big, like a Breaking Bad type thing, or Better Call Saul, where they had to set up all the sets before so that the actors could go from one to the next to the next.
But they had to put out the money to rent that additional gear, though. That's a different story. That's an additional cost.
But it was built into the budget. Like, they built it into the budget for that. That was fine. For me, it's like, if you hire me, I'm coming with the gear that I need to get the job done.
Sure.
Well, now, with that being said, I do understand some of it, and some people use it like they buy a red camera, and then partly they can operate the red camera, or you could just rent the red camera, or they're Cine lenses, and like that's how they make extra money. So I'm sitting here thinking, all right, well, if this is legitimately how Hollywood and how these production shows work, I'll buy all the gear, whatever's necessary to buy, and I'll rent it back to the production. And it's another line item. It's another way you can generate revenue and end up with all the gear. Now, I'm not saying I would buy the camera bodies. Luckily, you see, I'm a little spoiled because I do have access to every camera manufacturer. Like, if I wanted Canon to send cinema stuff, they'd send cinema stuff. If I wanted Sony to send cinema stuff, they'd send it for us to use.
Sure.
Just because
what about Nikon?
They would. Do they have cinema stuff?
No.
No, they don't. So I wouldn't use that. So I could see like if this goes to the next level, being like, yeah, I'll buy the tripods, I'll buy the lights, I'll buy these things, and you guys can rent it from me. And it becomes a line item that you make. But I think production companies should invest in a lot of their own products so that they can save money. Like, I'm bringing gear. Like, we're going to be using, I want to talk about what gear we're going to be using on Thursday when we're shooting in Wichita, Kansas. If you're in Wichita, Kansas, guys, someone send text message to the line. Where's my note? God damn it. Where's my note?
You had it for
Here
weeks,
it is.
man.
313-710-9729. If you're in the Wichita, Kansas area, it's not out of the question that I might need an assistant just to run batteries to the charger, get a piece of gear that I might need,
Literally
hold
a runner.
light.
Yeah.
I may need a PA that, I'll slip you a couple bucks, or you just get the pleasure of just working with someone so amazing as me.
You should make them pay you to work with you. That's
You're
even
right,
better.
Steven. You need to pay me. But hey, if you're in Wichita, Kansas or that area, I'll be there Thursday. I'll be there Friday and Saturday. I might need some help because right now we're doing a lot of this on a shoestring budget, and that just means we're not going to fly in someone to be an assistant. So I might look for someone local just to have and be like, look, I need you to do this. Please, like, hold this light when we do this, or watch my back, or tell me when this is happening, or run this over there. Get a text into that line. I got the number again.
You already lost it.
Shit, where is it? Fuck, where'd it go? I got all these papers.
Clean your damn desk.
There it is. My desk is clean. We made a video on it yesterday. 313-710-9729, and just say like Wichita, Kansas, or whatever, and leave. Well, you'll text from your phone number. So if I have it, I might be reaching out about Friday. Once I figure out Thursday, but Friday, Saturday. And if something goes right, I might stay until Monday. We'll have to wait and see. It all depends. But the way we're gonna have an A shooter and we're gonna have a B shooter, A roll and B roll. I'm gonna be doing B roll because there's no reason right now to send another shooter. We're still trying to figure stuff out, and I'm capable of shooting video. Now I'm gonna be using the Canon R3 shooting log for the first time because that's what I have. If I had a cinema, if I had an FX3. We should probably get Sony to send us an FX3 because there's no reason I can't shoot that camera.
We had an FX3 when we reviewed it, but we had to send it back right away.
But there's no reason that with the glass, like, I'm fully capable of using any system. It's just, where's the menu set up and just
Well, and that's the issue is your main A camera is shooting with an FX3, correct? S-Log3?
So we had an option between FX9 and FX3 because they didn't have any FX6s available in the rental pool that we can get from Lens Rentals / Sony directly. I thought the FX9 was just overkill, and also I feel that it's slightly older. And the fact that when you hear that it takes XQD cards, I'm like, hey, something taking XQD cards at this point and doesn't take CF Express B or CF Express A, I don't want to use it.
I mean, the FX6 is a nice compromise between the two, especially because they have a lot that ENG setup that you can get with it too for run and gun. But the FX3 is also the newest one. It's essentially an A7S3, but in a cinema body.
Yeah, and so probably for future production, we will either decide to go with like FX6s or maybe we end up with Canon. It all depends on where we get the stuff and who we get it from. For the show, it is a good line item savings if we can get it from Canon or Nikon Canon or Sony just to say like shot with Canon or shot with Sony. But really that comes down to what the shooters are comfortable with and what they generally shoot with. And the guy that's coming on Thursday seems to be comfortable with everything from the most basic FX3 all the way up to the like Sony Venus or whatever the top of the line Sony cinema cameras are. Like He uses all of that. So that's the A shooter. The A shooter is, we're going to be shooting 24 to 70 f2.8 version 2. He's going to have a 70 to 200 2.8 version 2. I'm going to be packing some Sony gear for him just in case, like a 51.2. There's no 85, so a 51.2. I'll probably take the 135 1.8 and a 35 1.4. just so that he has some other, and a 100 macro. Maybe there's something he wants to do with a 100 macro. I just want to be prepared for him, especially that I'm doing B-roll, the B camera, and I'm doing producing. So I'm like the producer on the ground. You know, what I find fascinating, and I know I'm talking a lot on my own podcast here.
How dare you?
What I find fascinating is that Steven has a 6-inch fence.
I gotta block those ants, man. I gotta block the ants from invading.
Except they can build an ant chain over it. But what I find fascinating is the more that I see how the back end works, and the more I see other productions in the past and how these shooters work and how everybody does it, I realize that Steven and I are a production company and have been for 13 years producing my own content. We've been producing me, and that's if we do pre-production, that's all the editing, all the shooting, all the ideas, all the everything that's involved as a small, basically one-man band.
I've said it before, like with the Bernie documentary, the typewriter show, like some of the bigger shoots that we did where it was literally me and you for the most part.
Well, let's just give credit on the typewriter shoot, Lil Dan. I think Dan may have helped us carry some stuff, and Todd
Dan was a runner, if you want to call him that.
Yeah. He didn't do shit. Todd
Dan did edit it, though. I will give him that.
Oh, he did edit it.
But in terms of the production, the shoot.
The production, we had Todd out there to help with like angles and then like asking questions. But in the future, I would ask all the questions because I think I'm really good at doing interviews and getting what I need out of someone quickly, because it's just, I have a good feel for it. That's why I'm on the ground here for the bowling thing as the producer, is because I know all the bowlers. I know how to talk to them. I know where we can go and where we can't go. And I just realized this, looking back at all the things we've done, I need to give us more credit for being production companies, because we are fully capable. If someone called and said, hey, we need to do X, we could pull it off and get the extra crew in, if that was ever needed, and be real deal.
And hey, don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean that it's easy to do this kind of stuff when, you get thrown everything all at once at you and you're trying to be a jack of all trades and do it all, and you're kind of a master of none because you can't really perfect everything when you're doing everything. It is nice to have these larger crews or even a skeleton crew, but we do get the job done because at the end of the day, it's YouTube and doesn't need to be a perfectly polished piece. Although I still am super proud of that Bernie documentary personally.
The Bernie doc is
I think
is
it
great.
looks great, sounds great. Everything about that I think came out really.
What was it shot on, Steven?
Nikon Z6.
That's right.
Well, Ed, trust me, the run and gun autofocus with that camera was incredibly rough, but I made it work. As we always said, there's limitations with cameras, but you can still work around that and still get things to work. But there are plenty of shots that I'm like, damn, that completely back focused and I can't use it and I wish I could, but you'll never know and it'll never see the light of day because it misfocused.
Yeah, but it's still a great documentary, and no one's like, oh, dude, what'd you shoot this with? Because it works.
But speaking of run and gun, we were kind of getting you to understand log and C-Log3 and all of that. You're going to have to bring a bunch of NDs too in case you're outside or anything bright, because your base ISO is going to be 800 for C-Log3 on the R3. The only one thing that would be really nice if you guys did end up getting the FX9s is it has electronic NDs built in. So you have that 3-stop ND inside the camera. You don't have to worry about filters and all of that. You can simply just adjust
has that
quickly.
too.
FX6 as well,
FX6.
yes. But the FX3 lacks that.
Well, the rumors are that the FX3 might add that.
Yeah, but it doesn't exist obviously right now.
No, it doesn't exist now.
So you had to bring a bunch of step-up rings for your extra Sony shooter just in case, because you got all types of different filter threads for those Sony lenses.
Well, that's the thing. Like when you are, even if you're assisting someone or producing, you should always have an extra bag of stuff like that you like. gaff tape, right? Or you throw a GoPro in there because maybe, or an Ace Pro or an Insta360 360 camera, and you just throw it in your bag and you're like, hey, I brought this. Do you
never
think
know.
do you need it?
I severely overpack every time we go anywhere to do whatever it may be, whether it's a new product that we're reviewing or a press trip. Half the time we don't even know what we're dealing with. We don't know beforehand like what we're going to be shooting with or what the camera is or whatever it may be. So I bring everything because I don't want to be sitting there like I wish I had brought this step-up ring with this ND filter, or I wish I brought a piece of gaff tape. Just the littlest things, the littlest accessories will save you on a shoot.
Yeah, and that's as simple as taking a pen and wrapping gaff tape around the pen.
Exactly. Yep.
You never know, like when you're just going to need a little couple pieces of gaff tape and you just wrap it around a pen and you have it. Now, speaking of packing, that is one of the difficult things for me to do for this trip right now.
Sure.
Because going to Kansas, there's nothing direct from Philly to, I don't think there's really anything direct into Kansas at all unless you're coming from Dallas. But the point is the commuter flight. So I take a regular flight and then I got to get onto a smaller plane, and it's one of those Embraer 175s, which has a much smaller overhead bin. But you know that bag, the airport Advantage Plus from Think Tank, which has been discontinued. We have an Airport Advantage XT upstairs or something. I'm just worried that thing wouldn't fit in the thing. So I'm still taking the one that's behind me that you guys can't see. The problem is I don't know where all the inserts for that bag is. And so if I use a bigger bag's inserts, it's harder to fit because it's shorter.
So we do have in the basement a giant box full of just inserts from Think Tank bags, but it's probably 10 bags worth of inserts. So it's a lot to go through to find the right ones.
And I've mixed and matched from one bag to the other a lot. Yeah. And so I can't always go back to it. But the thing is, I have to take that roller bag because I can't check it. I'm going to have my R3s. I'm taking two R3s, 24 to 105 instead of a 28 to 70 because a 24 to 105 is more versatile and it has image stabilization where the 28 to 70 doesn't.
And it doesn't have a 95 millimeter filter thread. It'd be a lot harder to find an ND for that one.
Which we should probably ask Peter McKinnon if he has some ND filter. Hey, Peter, why doesn't Polar Pro send us anything?
No, we have a bunch of NDs that he sent.
The first time, but not the second version.
Oh, okay.
The magnet one would be kind of cool.
Oh, the new one. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I was talking to him last night. Maybe I should be like, hey, Peter, can I get some of those magnets? Or maybe I'll just buy it and then rent it.
It's a write-off.
It's a write-off. And then I'll rent it and I'll make money. So trying to pack this bag, taking the extra stuff for the Sony shooter, taking the stuff that I need to take. Then I have to I'm also going to be wrangling all of the digital files. So I will have my laptop hooked up and card readers and external 4 terabyte drives. I've got the Samsung drives.
Yeah,
which
how many
I'll be
drives are you bringing? Because that's the scary part. You guys might be leaving with a shit ton of footage.
I mean, I'll probably have 4 to 6 4 terabytes just to have it.
So I had, for example, on the Bernie trip, which was 2 days, right? For us? 3?
For you, yeah.
I shot for 2 days straight and I had 2.5 terabytes worth of data.
Wow.
And that was the V6,
yeah, which
was much smaller file sizes than what you're going to be shooting with the R3. Especially if you're doing 4K 120 clips here and there too.
Which I'm going to be doing that. That's for me to do. Mm-hmm. So I'll have all those. I'm going to bring extra drives. I'm just going to have to figure out how to organize and have backups of everything. Jesus, this is a pain. This is a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot for one person.
I'll be doing. But we'll have to figure out how to organize the stuff. And I'm also going to end up taking extra CF Express A cards because that's what the FX3 takes. So I have all the CF Express B cards. See, I was hoping to use a camera that used CF Express B, which is what the FX6 uses. Sony went ahead and put the FX6, put a CF Express B in there. Well, that would be great. I've got 1.3 terabytes. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4.
They probably did that just because it's a much bigger body.
Well, I've got 4 1 terabytes CF Express Bs. I got 1.3 terabyte. I've got 5 12s. And of course, I got 325. So I've got a lot of cards. Now it's just a matter of, now I just feel like I need to take every single backup I've got just in case for those SSDs because it just can't be in one place. It's got to be on multiple.
If you added up all those cards, how much money do you think that is? Because you got the Cobalt
$8-9 grand
CF Express B cards,
probably $8,000 or $9,000.
Wow,
I could rent it. It's a line. I should rent them for $50 a card a shoot.
Media is not cheap.
You imagine that $50 a day or $25 a day. It's like Lens Rentals is charging $48, or no, it's like $28 to rent a GorillaPod XT or something. I'm like, come on,
Just buy
guys.
it at that point.
I'm like, fuck you. Not to the rental company, but at that point you just like, that's the thing. Like, hey, I've got one of these, I'll bring it. Like, that's the thing that I'm doing with a lot of this. One is I'm part of the production. So the bottom line is, I guess, less money you spend on rentals, the more money there is for everybody as a profit at some point. So I'm also cognizant of that, of how you spend the money. And I just feel like that's not a good use of money in certain situations. And then in other situations, I'm like, I got to back the fuck away because it's not, I can't micromanage this or nitpick everything. Let them do what they need to do. So we got to wrap it so that I can start preparing and packing, because I have a 6:30 flight. I got to go to Dallas, and I got to go from Dallas to Kansas City, where it's going to be 40 degrees, and then it's going to be -5 degrees the next day.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And on Sunday for the football game, it's going to be like -5 in Kansas City.
I didn't know it got that cold there. Wow.
Yeah, it's the planes. It's the planes, bro. The plane. So as of now, the goal is, we also have a sound guy that we have to get there who has his gear, and because we want to mic up some of the bowlers, and he's got a boom mic. So good. Like, this is the real deal. Now, this isn't the crew. Like, the idea is, in the future, we will have the same shooters that go from one event to the next event, and we have a set type of gear that we're going to be using, and it's more universal. And we'll have like three or four shooters at an event if we need to. It's just like,
I'm really curious
evolving.
how, I know we got to end this soon, but real quick, how post-production works after all of this. Once it gets organized, all of the media, what happens then? Is there a producer, a director on the side of the edit that's trying to figure out how to organize all of this footage and what to do with it?
Yeah.
Because it's kind of, you don't really know what you're getting until you get it. It's a documentary.
What they do, and they did it with the sizzle reel, is they ingest everything into their back-end server, their software, and then they get transcripts of everything. I think that's all created now, so they know where everything is. They organize it, and they make notes, and they go through, and it's just a process. Yeah. And there is a person that will direct the edit, and that's how the back end's going to work. And then we'll watch cuts and give input and say, oh, I shot this or that in a certain situation. The other thing that was discussed is, should I just focus on taking stills versus doing video? Because stills are valuable, except for the fact that the bowling center stuff is boring as shit.
Yeah.
And the moving pictures are more important for this, because it's very difficult to integrate the still images into the final show. Now, I think that would be fantastic if there was a way to incorporate the still images properly into a show, but maybe that's something we can consider in the future.
I could see end credits including stills, the movie poster itself, promotional assets, like that kind of stuff you'll need stills for, but I don't know how much you'll need them in the actual documentary part.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot of moving parts here, a lot of things that I need to do. I need to get those damn inserts because I need to pack the bag. Oh, and I need to bring a backpack too. And so it's like, am I going to get shit when I'm flying? Because they're going to be, and I'm going to be like, here guys, open up my bag. None of this can get checked. Now, I am first class going from Dallas to...
I don't expect anything less.
Kansas. I was upgraded because... I'm Executive Platinum Pro, bitch.
Oh, look at me.
If you're in I want to go to Topeka just so I can be like, it's almost famous. I'm a golden god. I'm on drugs. 313-710-9729. Get those texts. Oh, shit. I should probably put that out on Instagram because this is coming out when I'm already going to be there.
Oh, now I didn't even think about that because I'm so used to recording on Thursday and it coming out like that night. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah. All right, guys. I gotta get stuff to do. Steven's got to get stuff to do. Dan, I don't know what the fuck Dan's doing. I know what Dan's doing.
He's working on Photo News Fix. He's working hard.
On Photo News Fix.
We always mess with him, but we're just joking.
I don't know that he's working hard because I never see him anymore. He's been working from home for 3 years.
Yeah, but I keep track of him.
I should have his Zoom camera on at all times. Dan,
just
I need to watch you edit.
Ball and chain.
I need to watch you edit. If you're editing, I need to watch. I need to make sure. We're gonna sign off. Thank you very much for listening. Jared Polin, photo.com. See ya.
Bye.